ಕುಸುಮವಿದು ಮೀಸಲು ನಿನಗೆ, ಜೀವ ಕುಸುಮವಿದು ಮೀಸಲು ನಿನಗೆ. ನೇಸರನ ಹೊಂಗಿರಣ ಸೋಂಕಾದ ಮುನ್ನ, ಜೀವನದ ಬಿರುಗಾಳಿ ಬೀಸುವ ಮುನ್ನ ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ, ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ. ಪಾತಾಳದಿಂದಾಚೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಚರಣ, ಪಾತಾಳದಿಂದಾಚೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಚರಣ, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾಂಡದಿಂದಾಚೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಮಕುಟ. ಪಾತಾಳದಿಂದಾಚೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಚರಣ, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾಂಡದಿಂದಾಚೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಮಕುಟ. ಬೃಹತ್ತು ನೀನು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮತೆಯೋ ನೀನು, ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವಾ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ, ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವಾ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ. ಬೇಡನ ಕೊಂಡೊಯ್ದೆ ಕೈಲಾಸ ನಿಧಿಗೆ, ಬೇಡನ ಕೊಂಡೊಯ್ದೆ ಕೈಲಾಸ ನಿಧಿಗೆ. ಕೂರಂಬು ಎಸೆದ ನರನಿಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ, ಕೂರಂಬು ಎಸೆದ ನರನಿಗೆ ಒಲಿದೆ. ಭಕ್ತರ ಪ್ರಿಯ ನೀನು, ಭಕ್ತಿಯ ಪ್ರಿಯ ನೀನು, ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವಾ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ, ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವಾ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ. ಜೀವ ಕುಸುಮವಿದು ಮೀಸಲು ನಿನಗೆ, ನೇಸರನ ಹೊಂಗಿರಣ ಸೋಂಕಾದ ಮುನ್ನ, ಜೀವನದ ಬಿರುಗಾಳಿ ಬೀಸುವ ಮುನ್ನ, ಜೀವನದ ಬಿರುಗಾಳಿ ಬೀಸುವ ಮುನ್ನ ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವಾ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ, ಉದ್ಧರಿಸು ದೇವಾ ದೇವಾಧಿದೇವ,
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च। Humble prostrations to one and all. So in the last class, we had seen the properties of Atma, the Supreme Self, compared to the physical body. Generally, we take ourselves to be the body. So therefore, Yamarāja now compares the Supreme Self with the physical body. And thus he says, Najayate mriyate va vipaschit nayam kutaschin nababhuva kaschit. So this self, this supreme reality, Nachiketa, which you had asked, it has no birth, it has no death. It is unborn, ajaha, it is eternal, nityaha. It is shashvataha, free from all kinds of modifications. It is ancient, from the beginningless past, it is there with all of us. And when this body dies, na hanyate hanyamane sharire, even when the body is killed, this self doesn't die. The truth about this body, this Supreme Self, is it neither kills nor does it get killed. So we have seen the properties of the self based on this verse. So therefore the first one is, it is nityaha, eternal. Nityaha, then nirvikaraha, free from all kinds of modifications. Third one, it is vipaschit, meaning chaitanya swarupaha, it is of the nature of consciousness. Then karya karana rahitaha, it is free from cause and effect. It never becomes the effect of something, nor does it become the cause of something. So karya karana rahitaha. And then it is akarta abhokta, non-doer, non-enjoyer. Now the question is, how to realize this self? What are the qualifications necessary? So a very beautiful verse is given next, verse number 20, page number 130. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam Tamakratuf pashyati vītashokaha Dhātu-prasādam mahimanam-ātmanah Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam Tamakratuf pashyati vītashokaha Dhātu-prasādam mahimanam-ātmanah. So what is the nature of the self? The nature of this Supreme Truth is Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan. Anoho aniyan, subtler than the subtlest. Mahato mahiyan, greater than the greatest. So this truth, this consciousness, it is called Atma. Now this is the first time Atma term comes here. Atma. Atma means it is the very I in all of us. Atma, I. This Atma, where does it stay? Asya jantoho guhayam nihitaha. Where does it stay? It stays in the guha of jantu, of all beings. Of all beings, it stays in the guha. Now what is this guha? Hridaya guha. Heart cave or cave of the intellect. Or in short, it stays in the very core of the being of every being. It stays in the very core of all living beings. It is the very center of existence, we can say. So this Supreme Self, which is the I in everyone. It is bigger than the biggest, smaller than the smallest. It is there in everyone's heart. That's why we say God resides in the heart of all beings. So, where is that statement coming from? It is coming from Upanishad only. Ātmā asya jantoho guhāyam nihitaha. How to experience this truth, this self? Dhātu-prasādat. Dhātu-prasādam. Prasada means serenity, peace, quietude. Quietude of what? Dhātu. So here Dhātu means mind and the senses. They are called as here Dhātu. So Dhātu-prasādat, when the mind and the senses become serene, tranquil, quiet. But when does that happen? Akratuhu. This happens only for a akratu. Akratu means a dispassionate person. A person full of dispassion, vairagya. So in a vairagi, his mind and the senses, they are tranquil and quiet. With such a mind, tam atmanam mahimanam pashyati. So such a dispassionate person, with a tranquil mind and the senses, pashyati, he sees. What does he see? Mahimanam, the glory, the greatness of what? Tam atmanam, of that Supreme Self. So he is the one who sees the glory of that Supreme Self. And what happens to him after that? Vita shokaha bhavati. He becomes free from shoka, sorrows. So this is the translation of this verse. Now let us see. So what is the nature of this self? Anoho aniyan mahato mahiyan. So this term we have seen many times. Subtler than the subtlest, greater than the greatest. So what is the scripture trying to say? The scripture is trying to say that this whole world, the entire world is supported by the self. Or we can say the law. The cause always pervades the effect. This is a law. So the effect comes from the cause. This effect is pervaded by the cause everywhere. Exactly like mud is the cause, mud pot is the effect. So in every particle, every bit of mud pot, you will find mud. Smallest particle of mud pot also will carry mud. The entire mud pot is also nothing but mud. Anoho aniyan mahato mahiyan. You see, smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Whichever the piece you take, it is nothing but mud. Isn't it? Now let us take another example, the dream example. The entire dream world exists in me. So therefore we can say the cause of dream world is me, because they exist in me. Now in this dream world, anoho aniyan mahato mahiyan, whether you see a small atom in this dream, who is giving existence to that atom? I am giving existence. So therefore I can say I am smaller than the smallest in the dream. The entire dream world is also existing in me, so therefore the bigger than the biggest is also me. I am the smallest, I am the greatest, because I am the cause, the dream is the effect. The whole dream world is existing in me. So the dream world has no existence apart from me. So everything that exists in the dream world, whether it is the smallest or whether it is the largest, everything is nothing but me. So in the same way, using the same logic, the supported logic. So what is this logic? So the supporter pervades the supported everywhere. This is the logic. So now we have to find out, where is this world supported? Who is giving support to this world? So when we analyze, we find that it is our mind which is supporting this world. We have discussed this point earlier also. How can we say that the world is existing in the mind? When there is no mind, there is no world. When there is mind, there is world. So whenever there is mind, there is world. Whenever there is no mind, there is no world. In deep sleep, there is no mind, so therefore there is no world for me. So therefore, the world depends on the mind for its existence. Now where is this mind existing? Mind is existing in our awareness, in this consciousness. Mind is nothing but thoughts. Thoughts exist in consciousness. Thoughts rise in consciousness, stay in consciousness, they dissolve in consciousness. So consciousness is the base. So the mind remains in consciousness, world remains in the mind. So therefore we can say the world exists in consciousness. So therefore, what is the content of the world? Content of the world is nothing but consciousness. Content of the world is nothing but consciousness. So the smaller than the smallest particle in the world and the bigger than the biggest entity in the world, both of them, they exist in consciousness. So therefore we can say this consciousness is Anoho Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. This is the way we have to understand. Anoho Aniyan, smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. Anoho Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. And then the next term used is Ātmā. Ātmā means a self. Ātmā means I. So whenever the term comes, this term comes Ātmā, understand this is I. This I which we are experiencing every moment, this is Atma. So who is this reality? What is this reality? This reality is none other than the I in us. Which I? Please remember, the pure I. There is an impure I, there is a pure I. Today the I which we experience is the impure I. What is impure I? I with ignorance is called impure I. What is ignorance? The ignorance is I think I am the body. So I am the body. This understanding about I is impure I. Whenever the understanding is I am BMI, I am so and so, all these things are nothing but impure I. Wrong understanding about I, wrong notions about I. How I must know myself? I must know myself not as BMI but as Satchit Ananda. This is the right understanding. This is the right understanding. So in our ignorance today, I don't know myself. I think that I am the body, mind, intellect because of identification. So this impure I is called egoistic I or ahankara or ego or individual self or jivatma. They are all different names given. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi calls it aham vritti. And the pure I is called Supreme Self or Paramatma or pure aham. So these are all different names given to that pure I. So impure I, the pure I. So the whole spiritual journey is nothing but trying to understand myself not as the impure I but as the pure I. This is all spiritual journey is all about, trying to understand myself as that supreme I. So the whole journey is inward. So therefore it is said, Atma, where is it there? Asya jantoho guhayam nihitaha. Where is it present? It is present in the very heart cave. Guha. Now this term has come very many times. Guha. The center of my being. At present, what am I experiencing? I am experiencing my ego now. The wrong notion about I is there in this guha only. In the very same place, the Supreme Self is also there. Where do you see the snake? Exactly where the rope is. They are not seen at two different places, they are seen in the same place. So, the Supreme Self is also in the heart cave. The ego is also experienced in the heart cave. So here when it is said Atma, we have to understand the Supreme Self. So this Supreme Self is there in the hearts of everyone. So therefore, though the Supreme Self is there everywhere, it is omnipresent, it is all pervading, but where can we experience it? You can experience it only in the very core of your being, because that is the place of experience. That's where you have to experience it, though it is present everywhere. It is something like Puja Gurudev used to say, milk is present everywhere in the cow, but if you want to get that milk, you have to go to the udder. Government is there everywhere, but then if you want to meet that government, get your work done, then you will have to go to the capital. So in the same way, the Supreme Lord is everywhere, but what is that place where you can experience Him? That place is the very cave of your heart, the very center of your being, the very core of your being. Now the question is, how can I experience? What are the qualifications necessary? So who sees? Tam akratuhu pashyati. Not everyone can see this. Though that Supreme Lord is the very I in me, the very self in me, but everybody is not qualified to experience that Supreme Self as it is, though it is there in everyone. Very many times people ask, where is God? I don't believe in God. So then you have to ask this question, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your existence? Yes, yes, I am there. So this I in you is the definition of God. So this is the verse here, Atma. Now can you deny this I? Ask this. The purest form of I is God. Can you deny this I in you? So even the greatest atheist cannot deny. They may deny a God which is residing in heaven or coming in different forms like Vishnu, etc. They may deny that. But what is the true definition, the ultimate definition of God? It is the very self, the very I. Nobody can deny it. Nobody can deny. There are so many movies made with this assumption, especially because of this technological age. People start assuming things. And one great assumption based on which lot of movies are made. What is that assumption? The assumption is a day will come when these robots, they would conquer mankind because they are far more intelligent. Artificial intelligence that is increasing. They are fast, quick, accurate, precise. So a time will come when they will conquer the mankind and they will rule the mankind. So based on this, so many movies have come. Now the question is it possible? Right. Now let us assume, if the Robert has to conquer mankind, what is the first thing necessary? The first thing necessary is a desire to conquer. Desire to conquer. Without this, no conquering will happen. So the first thing is desire. Now the question is, can a robot have desire? Can a robot have desire? The answer is no. Why a robot cannot have desire? A robot cannot have desire because it doesn't have I. Every desire is always based on I. Who desires? I desire. What do you desire? I desire happiness. So in order to fulfill my desire, I do everything in life. So if the robots have to conquer mankind, the first thing is it must have desire to conquer. But desire can come only when there is I in it, self in it. Now, is it possible to inject self in robot? It is impossible. It is impossible. The science can at the most give hands and legs. It can create some mechanism which can function logically. All that is possible. But can you infuse Atma into this robot? It is just not possible. Can the science give life to the inanimate things? It is just not possible. A spiritual person understands this, a materialistic person can never understand this. So the whole assumption is a bluff that robots will one day conquer mankind. It is just not going to happen. It is just not going to happen. Why it is not going to happen? Because robots don't have this I in them. And because I is not there, desire is not there. Because desire is not there, then why should they conquer? The whole world is a play of desire. And the desire comes from a wrong notion about one's own self. So this way, we have to clearly understand how many foolishness we do just because we don't understand the fundamentals of life. Right, so coming back. So this self is there in the heart of all beings. And who is that blessed one who can experience this self? So it is said, tam akratuhu pashyati. This self cannot be experienced by everyone. It is not possible. There are certain qualifications necessary. And what is that qualification? That qualification is mentioned here. He should be akratuhu. What is akratuhu? Akratuhu means akamaha. Akamaha. Akamaha means virakta, a dispassionate person. So the qualification to experience this self is dispassion. No interest in the world. Why there is no interest in the world? There is no interest because through his discriminative power, he has understood that there is no happiness in the world. There is no happiness. And that is why there is Dhātu-prasādam in him. Dhātu-prasādam. What is this Dhātu-prasādam? Prasadam, serenity of Dhātu. So mind and the senses, they are called Dhātu. Why are they called Dhātu? Bhagavan Shankarāchārya says, Sharirasya dhāranāt dhātuhu. Dhātu comes from dhārana, to support, to sustain. So since the mind and the senses, they sustain the body, so therefore they are called as Dhātu. So Dhātu means mind and the senses. So Dhātu-prasādam means what? The tranquility of mind and senses. Prasadam. Prasadam means actually grace, but here tranquility. So the mind and the senses are very peaceful. Why are they peaceful? They are peaceful because this person is dispassionate. So this relationship has to be understood. When I have no interest in the world, when I find that there is no happiness in the world, the mind will never go to the world. Mind wants happiness, and once you have understood through your viveka that there is no happiness, the mind will not go to the world. Then what will happen to this mind? Mind will remain with you without going there. Now this term is a beautiful term, Dhātu-prasādam, by the grace of your mind and senses. This mind and the senses are such, you are blessed when they are quiet. Mind and the senses are such that you are blessed. You are the most fortunate one when they are quiet, doing nothing. When they are peaceful. In this world also, such people are there. When they are quiet and peaceful, the world is blessed, isn't it? The criminals, the antisocial elements, the gundas, etc., when they are quiet, the world is blessed. So they are put in jail, where they are helplessly quiet, they can't do anything within the four walls. So therefore the world is blessed. Government feeds them, paying money, just to remain quiet. I heard a nice joke. A boy was carrying a drum with him. So his friend asked, "Do you know how to play drum?" He said, "No." "Then why are you carrying it?" So then this boy said, "I get a lot of money from this." The other said, "How? You don't know how to play it? Then how?" "See, it is like this. Morning, the local shopkeepers give me 10 rupees for not playing this drum. And in the evening and the night, the local people, the householders, they give me 10 rupees for not playing it in the night. So morning also I get 10 rupees, night also I get 10 rupees, not to play, but in order not to play. So this way, this drum is very, very useful for me." So in the same way, this mind and the senses are such, to the extent they are quiet, to that extent we are peaceful. Isn't it? As they say, some people give happiness whenever they speak and act. Others give happiness whenever they are silent and quiet. Mind and the senses, they are like that. So, Dhātu-prasādam. So, when this person, this dispassionate person knows that this world, these pleasures, etc., they are nothing but misery only. In the beginning, some pleasure it may give, but in the end it is misery. The person who has thoroughly experienced it, like Nachiketa himself. We have seen it, Shobhava, Martyasya Dantakaitat, Sarvendriyanam Jarayanti Tejah. So, in such a dispassionate person, what happens? The mind and the senses are serene, peaceful. So, at the seat of meditation, how will the mind will behave? The mind will be quiet, because it has nowhere to go. How can we test the intensity of dispassion in us? How do we know whether we are dispassionate or not? So, the seat of meditation is a seat where you can test, that is a place where we can test how much of dispassion I have. Greater the dispassion, quieter the mind. This is the law. Greater the dispassion, lesser the ragadveshas, kamakrodhas, etc. And to that extent, your mind is available for you to meditate. The mind will not be a sticker sticking into the world. Some stickers are such, you can't even pull it out. When you pull out, that surface itself, it is torn and it comes back. So greater the ragadveshas in the mind, the impurities in the mind, greater will be the attachment of the mind. It is as though the mind is penetrating deep into the worldly affairs, and then to bring out that mind from that worldly affair is very difficult. But to the extent you are dispassionate, to that extent mind goes there, but it doesn't get stuck. When you call, the mind comes. While living in this world, no doubt you have to use the mind, but the question is to what extent the mind is stuck in the world while dealing with the world. This is very important. To what extent the mind is stuck, you can know at the seat of meditation. How much you are struggling to bring that mind back, to withdraw the mind. Pratyahara. How much are you struggling? Sometimes the whole meditation, 1 hour you sit, but all the time your mind is wandering only. Not able to withdraw the mind. But as the mind becomes purer and purer, withdrawal becomes easier and easier. So at the seat of meditation, there are so many things you learn about your own mind. The intensity of dispassion, and also which are the places where the mind is stuck. This also you can know. Where is the mind stuck? With whom is the mind stuck? What are the places? So where all the mind goes, make it a point. Note it down. These are the places where the mind is going. These are the thoughts which the mind is entertaining. Make it a note and work on it. This can be a sadhana. Work on it. So again and again mind is going to certain places. Again and again mind is entertaining certain kind of negative emotions. So observing the mind, you can learn a lot about the mind, and thus you can correct the mind. You may not be able to meditate, but just observing the mind, observing the places which it visits, observing the emotions which it entertains, lot of things can be learned about the mind, and thus we can make lot of correction in our thinking, in our understanding. This way meditation definitely helps. So as the mind becomes purer and purer, such a person becomes akratuhu, dispassionate. Please understand, vairagyam doesn't mean hatred. Vairagya means disinterest. Many times vairagya is translated into hatred also. It is not hatred. Raga and dvesha, both are two sides of the same coin. Whether there is attachment or whether it is hatred feeling, both are a kind of worldly attachment, because the mind is stuck there. You hate something or someone, the mind is stuck. You are attached to something or someone, the mind is stuck. So dispassion is a quality of the mind which helps the mind to easily withdraw from the world. There is neither raga nor dvesha. The best example we can give is this toys. When we were children, we were attached to toys, but as we grew up, what is our attitude toward toys? Whether the toy is there or not, it doesn't make any difference. We may even play with the toy also with our children, but it doesn't make any difference to us. So that is a right attitude of dispassion. Its presence or absence doesn't make any difference to me, because my Viveka Shakti says, my discrimination says that it has no content of joy in it, and therefore the mind doesn't go there. So this is true dispassion, and therefore when dispassion is there, you will always find the mind and the senses, they are serene. So dispassion leads to Dhātu-prasādam. Dhātu-prasādam. And then what happens? So such a mind is available for meditation. It is not stuck in the world, you can easily direct that mind within into the heart cave. The mind doesn't object, rather the mind is willing to go there because that is the only source of happiness. So the intellect doesn't find to bring the mind and fix it in that Supreme Self. Then what happens? Such a mind which is withdrawn, whose attention is upon the Self, what happens to it? Ātmanaha mahimanam pashyati. See? Ātmanaha mahimanam pashyati. It sees, what does it see? The glory of Atma. The glory of the true Self. As far as the individual self, the impure eye is concerned, there is no glory. It is always miserable, limited, crying, weeping. There is no glory. But the true Atma, the pure I, when that mind withdraws, now there is no more identification with the BMI. Such a mind totally withdraws, drops the identification with the BMI, and the attention is totally upon the Self. Such a mind, such a pure mind, free from all kinds of distractions and impurities, such a mind, what does it see? Pashyati means experiencing. Pashyati, direct experience it is. Sākshāta-vijānāti, it's a direct experience. Now what is the Mahima of this Self? Whatever we have seen, that is the Mahima. What is the Mahima? This Self is the one which supports the whole world. The whole world has no existence without the Self. It is the one which is giving existence to the whole world. This is a Mahima. It is the only reality. Everything else is just a projection upon this reality. Everything else has only a borrowed existence. This is the one which is really existing. This is the Mahima of the Lord, of that Self. Ajaha, Nityaha, Shashvataha, Puranaha, they are all the Mahimas of the Self. It is infinite, it is all pervading, it is immortal, it is blissful. They are all the Mahimas of the Self, the glory of the Self. Ātmanaha mahimanam pashyati. Who is this Atma? Please remember, it is me. Oh my God, I am like this. This way he says. It is not somebody else's glory. No, it is my own glory. Not the ego's glory, but the Supreme Self's glory. The glory of the Supreme Self. Then what happens to that person? Vita shokaha bhavati. He becomes free from sorrow. Why does he become free from sorrow? Because this Atma is Ananda Swarupa. So when you are seeing the Self, you are being the Self, and the nature of the Self is Ananda. The nature of the Self is perfection. The nature of the Self is, it is perfectly complete. So therefore what happens to this person? Vita shoka, free from sorrow. Free from sorrow means what? Complete fulfillment, contentment, happiness, joy, peace, whatever the name you may give. It is not just the state of absence of sorrow, it is positively the experience of bliss. Vita shokaha bhavati. As long as we are identified with this body, there is only shoka. This we have to understand. It is just not possible for a person to be always happy, remaining identified with the body. It is not possible. Greater the identification with the body, greater we will be tossed up and down by the happenings of life. How much ever conducive environment you may create, misery is guaranteed. But here, this person transcends all kinds of sorrows. And this is the only way to transcend sorrow. Sākshāta-vijānāti tataha vīta-shokah bhavati. Now this is the sign of spiritual progress also. How do I know I am progressing in spirituality? How much of vīta-shoka is happening in you? See, more and more fulfillment, more and more contentment, lesser and lesser complaining, agitation, grumbling, dissatisfaction, anger, jealousy, greed, hatred, all these negativities come down, all the positivities increase. So vīta-shoka means all this. So as we evolve in spirituality, all these things we must see in ourselves. Only then we can say we are progressing. It is not intellectual understanding of all this. No, that intellectual understanding must culminate in direct experience. So the progress of spirituality is in terms of fulfillment, is in terms of joy, happiness, peace, etc. So this we have to keep on checking within ourselves. So now so many terms have been given to describe that Supreme Self. It is Nityaha, eternal, Nirvikaraha, free from modification. It is Chaitanya Surupaha, it is of the nature of consciousness. It is Ananda Surupaha, it is of the nature of bliss. It is Karya Karana Rehitaha, free from cause and effect. It is Ātmā, the very self. It is Akarta, Abhokta, non-doer, non-enjoyer. So these are all the terms to describe that Supreme Self. And what is the way to experience the Supreme Self? The way to experience is one has to be dispassionate. Only then the mind becomes pure, only then the mind becomes free from agitation. Such a peaceful, quiet mind can be easily withdrawn, and once that mind withdraws and looks within, it experiences the Absolute Self. Now Yamarāja says, without this qualification, a person will only be confused with respect to the self, this I. What are the confusions? So, a sample of confusion is given in the next verse, verse number 21, page number 135. Asino duram vrajati shayano yati sarvatah kastam madamadam devam madanyo nyātumarhati. Asino duram vrajati shayano yati sarvatah kastam madamadam devam madanyo nyātumarhati. So, how a person is confused with respect to what this I is. Asinaha duram vrajati. Sitting, asinaha, sitting, remaining stationary, motionless, duram vrajati. It goes far away places. Oh, shayanaha sarvataha yati. Lying down, sleeping, sarvataha, it goes everywhere. Sitting, it goes to faraway places. Lying down, sleeping, it goes everywhere. Mad amadam. Madamadam. Mad amadam. Sometimes it appears to be mada, joy. Sometimes it appears to be amada, sorrow. So now Yamarāja says, Mad anyaha kaha. Mad anyaha kaha tam devam nyātum arhati. Who can know that devam, that Lord, other than me? So this is the literal translation of it. So this self, appears to be seated in one place but going everywhere. Asinaha duram vrajati. Now what does it mean? So as far as an ignorant person is concerned, where is his identification? What is the definition of his self? When he is identified with the body is the self. When he is identified with the mind is the self. When he is identified with the intellect is the self. This is his understanding about I. So it is possible that he is seated somewhere. So asinaha, physical body is seated, but then the mind is going somewhere. Mind is wandering. So where is he? So we say he is not here. Many times teacher is taking class and the student is sitting there. Eyes are open, but his facial expression says that he is not here. So the teacher says, "Oi, where are you? Where have you gone? Are you here?" So what has happened? Physically he is here, but where is his identification? His identification is the mind, and where is the mind? Mind has gone somewhere. So where is he? He is out. What is happening in front, he is not aware. He is with his mind, he has gone somewhere. So as far as an ignorant person is concerned, when he is seated, asinaha, he is here. When the mind is wandering, he is somewhere. He is going to faraway places, you see. So his self is sometimes here, sometimes going everywhere. So where is he? Is he this or that? He is confused. Now Vedantin knows that he is neither this body nor that mind. He is a witness of this body and that mind. A Vedantin knows. He knows that this self is the witnessing consciousness. So he has no problem. But as far as an ignorant person is concerned, he is confused. He doesn't know whether he is here or there. This is the meaning. Asinaha duram vrajati. So this is the waking state. Shayanaha sarvataha yati. Now what happens when he sleeps? Shayanaha, sleeping. So when you sleep, you will always find that you are like everywhere. Sarvataha. Are you in the body? No. So where are you? It appears as though you are everywhere. Sarvataha yati. This again is a problem with the identification. Now what is the nature of the self? A Vedantin knows it is Ananda Swarupa, but what is according to him? Mada Amadam. Sometimes I am miserable, sometimes I am joyful. So misery and joy, the joy and sorrow, he thinks that it is a property of the self. So he is miserable sometimes he is happy. So what is the nature? He is confused. The point is this, he is confused regarding everything related to himself. What is pointed out here is utter confusion about his own existence. So what are the things which he is confused about? He is confused about Sat, Chit and Anand. A person who knows it, he knows that I am Satchidanand. He knows what is Satchidanand. What about this person who is identified with his BMI? He is completely confused with respect to Sat, Chit and Anand. Sat means existence. How is he confused? This is the example given. Am I existing here or am I existing there where the mind is? Confused. I cannot say I am existing here because I am not aware of anything what is happening here. So very many times these absent-minded people, they do all kinds of mistakes. So many accidents happen because of absent-mindedness. So is that person there? Physically he is there, but actually he is there, he is not there. Right? There are absent-minded students, there are absent-minded professors, all kinds of people are there. So now the question is, where do you exist? So according to the situation, their definition of existence also changes. Sometimes they say, I exist. Sometimes in the deep sleep they say, I don't exist. Or I exist somewhere. Or I exist in the past. You can go to the past also. Or I am existing in the future. That is also possible. So see, your existence is getting redefined every time the mental moods change. Your existence can go to the past, present or future. Your existence can be nowhere or everywhere. Or sometimes your existence is a question mark, especially after death. So see, this is called total confusion with regard to Sat. Sat also means reality. So what is his understanding about reality? I am in the world. Now this is another confusion. Vedanta says the world is in you, but according to him, I am in the world. World is real, it will ever remain, I come and go. I am born and I die. The world is permanent. What is Vedanta saying? Vedanta is saying world has no existence other than you. Now see this, confusion regarding Sat. And what is confusion regarding Chit? Knowledge about oneself. Do you know yourself? He will say, yes. Now see, you can neither say you know yourself completely, nor can you say you don't know yourself. I know myself because I know my existence. But are you knowing yourself as Satchidananda? No. So there is knowledge also, there is ignorance also. Now this is called confusion. In confusion, both are mixed. It is not absolute ignorance, it is not absolute knowledge. It's a mix of knowledge and ignorance. This is called confusion. And this is what happens to common man who has no guidance from the scriptures or from the teachers. That is what is being said. If the mind is not prepared, then there will be utter confusion. So with respect to Chit, this is the confusion. I know myself, but I don't know the true self of mine. It's a confusion. Chit also means sentiency. So what is the confused thinking? I think that the body is sentient, mind is sentient, intellect is sentient. This is again a confusion. Actually, sentiency is the property of consciousness. Body, mind, intellect, they are inert. But when I don't have this knowledge, I take this body to be sentient. So when a person dies, an ignorant person says the body dies. Arey, body is always dead only, it is inert. It never had any life. Consciousness is ever sentient, body, mind, intellect is ever inert. This that person doesn't know. So he cries and weeps when the body dies. These are all the expressions of confusion with regard to Chit. And then with regard to Anand, what is the confusion? Here it is, Madamadam. What is my nature? Ananda Swarupa or Dukkha Swarupa? So that person will say both. Because there are times when I am miserable, there are times when I am happy. So both. This is confusion regarding Ananda. Again, another confusion regarding Ananda is this, that happiness is out there. He will not say happiness is here, it's my nature. No, he will say world is the source of happiness because I get it from there. So with regard to Sat, Chit and Ananda, utter confusion. This is what happens when your mind is not prepared. There is always a confusion regarding one's own self. So therefore Yamarāja says, Kastam madamadam devam madanyo jñātum arhati. This devam, this supreme Lord, who is the very self in me, who is the very self in everyone, who can know other than me? Now one may say, Arey, Yamarāja, you are so arrogant, egoistic. Now please don't mistake the statement of Yamarāja. It simply means unless the mind is purified and refined, nobody is going to know the glory of this self. So what is pointed out is one has to purify the mind. Viveka, Vairagya, all those qualifications are necessary in order to truly understand the nature of the self. This is the purpose. The next verse summarizes the teaching, glorifies the self. That we will see in the next class. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kasyid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.